is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are St. Louis.
Is it coming back?
Our whole lives built up to this moment.
Not going up there to make friends, right?
Hold on!
Let's go fireworks.
You ready for a close encounter?
What goes up must come down.
We sacrifice for each other no matter what the cost.
Because our survival is only possible when we stand together.
The battle is coming. Independence Day. Resurgence in theaters Friday. And here today, it's our own matchup. This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball from Wrigley Field in Chicago. It's the St. Louis Cardinals and the Chicago Cubs. Game number 3 as the Redbirds look for a sweep. Recap this series, game 1. Brandon Moss with home run number 16, and the Cardinals did not stop there. Then it was Johnny Peralta, his second since being activated off the disabled list. Some defense late to bail out Trevor Rosenthal as he picked up a save. Amoy trying to take third. Molina gunned him down. 3-2 would be the final as Jason Hayward had a chance to win it for Chicago. Then last night, the same theme. Cardinals jumping out with the long ball. This is Matt Carpenter into center. Home run number 11 for the Cardinal leadoff man. Matt Holliday closing in on 300 for his career. That was number 13, a no-doubter. Defense again. Hayward up again late in the 8th. And a diving stop by Brandon Moss to take a hit and a runaway. Trevor Rosenthal picked up the save, but led Miss Diaz to his left, and the Cardinals had taken the first 2 of this series. And with Jim Hayes and Tim McCarver, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Welcome to Cardinals baseball. What a change in fortunes for St. Louis. They lose all the games on the homestand. They're coming to face the best team in baseball, arguably the Chicago Cubs. What do? They've won the first 2.
Particularly, Dan, those 3 games against Texas, all one-run games, and then they come in and win 2 one-run games against a tough Cub team, and they're facing the best pitcher in baseball today in Jake Arrieta, and hope to make it 3 in a row.
So a tough Cubs team and a tough pitcher here today. The reigning Cy Young Award winner, Jake Arrieta. It's a great matchup. It's been a lot of fun. It always is here at Wrigley Field. The St. Louis Cardinals, Chicago Cubs, Jake Arrieta against Michael Wacha. Baseball coming up. Last night, Adam Wainwright, 6 2/3, matched up with Hamill. And today, it'll be Michael Wacha. His last 2 starts against Pittsburgh and the Texas Rangers, very good. 14 2/3, 9 hits, only 3 earned, and opponents hitting under 200. But he gets a tall order here today. The reigning Cy Young Award winner, Jake Arrieta. Kia in the driver's seat, first in wins, second in ERA, first in opponents' batting average against, and first in run support. So it's Arrieta, it is Wacha, it's the Cardinals, it's the Cubs from historic Wrigley Field. Day baseball is coming up. best buds for you by Chevrolet. Visit your local Mid-America Chevy dealer for great prices on the all-new 2016 Malibu. And by Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. Here in 2016, it's the 101st year of Cubs baseball at historic Wrigley Field. And along with Jim Hayes and Tim McCarver, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Ballpark opened up in 1914. And this place, the second oldest ballpark in the major leagues behind Boston's Fenway Park, which opened up in 1912. What a place, and I'm sure for you, so many memories.
Oh boy, I'll say. We talked about it in game one about how sparse some of the crowds were in 1966, and that in 1906 the Cubs drew more people than they did 60 years later, and that is a fact.
The ivy-covered walls, the original vines purchased and planted by Bill Veeck, September of 1937. Wrigley added lights in 1988. The final major league stadium to hold night games. And of course, typical Wrigley fashion, maybe it wasn't meant to be. The baseball gods said, no way, we can't play night baseball. Their first night game was rained out.
That's right. Gets the Phillies, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a look at Mike Matheny, and his club is rolling now, having won the first two of this series against a very good team.
Jim Hayes saying that last night the Cardinal clubhouse and the guys in the clubhouse, the happiest that he's seen them all season. And
most energetic.
Most energetic, and with good reason, winning 2 one-run ball games after that sweep against Texas. And if they could win this game today, boy, what a flight it's going to be to Seattle, the loneliest city perhaps in Major League Baseball.
Jake Arrieta gets the start today, 11-1, and it seems like he's unbeatable here at home, but for whatever reason, the one team that has given him some fits here and there, the St. Louis Cardinals.
Back on May 25th, he pitched a game. He gave up 4 earned runs against the Cardinals in the first 5 innings and ended up winning that game because the Cubs scored 9 runs. Cubs won that game 9-8. But it's a good sign for the Cardinals. I mean, Arrieta is on such a roll that if you score 4 earned runs in 5 innings, even if you lose the game, you've done a good job against this guy.
A look at the Cubs defensively. Coughlin in left, Matt Caesar in center, Jason Hayward is in right. Chris Bryant, he's at third. Javier Baez at shortstop. Ben Zobrist, the second baseman. Anthony Rizzo is at first, and Miguel Montero, his first start in this series behind the plate. These are 2 former TCU players squaring off here to the point that they're close friends. Jake Arrieta actually was a groomsman in Matt Carpenter's wedding. And Arrieta has had the best of this duel between the two. Just 1 hit for Matt Carpenter and 19 plate appearances against Jake Arrieta. So here we go. And the first pitch is strike.
Jake Arrieta, groomsman to the best man for the Cardinals in their lineup.
Best way to put it, too.
Yeah.
And Carpenter is red hot coming into play today. Month of June, his on-base percentage is .522. So getting on base more than half the time here in this month. And he's reached base in 13 of his last 21 plate appearances.
Reached base by circling the bases with home run number 11 in last night's game.
Wound up being his 50th career home run from the leadoff spot. One ball, 2 strikes. So if you add in the 50 home runs and also a .300 career batting average from the leadoff spot, Carpenter's done the job, and he doesn't like the call. It's a strikeout for Arrieta to start the game.
I think Matt thought that ball was inside. We'll have to see. It was a good fastball from Arrieta. It looked like a cutter. Best time to pitch, guys, inside is with 2 strikes, because the good hitters protect the plate. And when you're protecting the plate, you're not as quick on the ball inside.
Here's Aledmys Diaz. Get the feeling that this matchup, and Arrieta obviously tough on everybody, but with Diaz and the way that pitchers have been approaching him, middle outer half,
right,
the way that Arrieta steps at a right-handed batter, it becomes a very, very tough test for Aledmys Diaz. Cardinal shortstop batting .351 on the road, third best in the National League. Overall, .303. And he lines it into center field. One out base hit for Diaz as Caesar slipped. We had a lot of rain this morning. Infield always covered up around Major League Baseball, but the outfield exposed to the elements.
Talked about the Toyota keys to the game, trying to take advantage of the momentum. We mentioned Jim Hayes talking about the clubhouse, everybody happy last night, and Mike Matheny hopes it carries over to this afternoon. What, first time in a while Matt Adams has started.
And he was swinging the bat so well, then got into a little bit of a funk. He was announced to pinch hit in game 1, then pulled back. Very good numbers against Chicago this year. 9 for 17, couple of home runs, 4 doubles. He's driven in 4 against Chicago. Yeah, how do you like that? All right, Matt, you're in the starting lineup. Great. Who's pitching? Arrieta.
Yeah.
Here's the 0-1.
Choose your poison. Whew. This guy has been venomous to hitters in the National League this year.
And Tim, you know, we did that game back on May 25th against the Cardinals. We talked about how Arrieta, when he got to Chicago, they left him alone in terms of how he wanted to pitch with his motion. And that front leg will jump at a right-handed hitter as he throws across his body. The check swing, and he went, fired him up, second strikeout.
He has a very deliberate start to his windup or from the stretch position, and he kind of jumps at the hitter. It's a valid point, Dan. A lot of people, the way you deliver the ball home, you can throw as hard as anybody in the game, and if hitters pick up on it, it's not a problem. But when you jump at the hitter, your fastball in particular seems faster than it really is.
Here's Stephen Piscotty. And that is a tough pitch. Again, jumping at the hitter, especially right-handers, and then he paints the outside corner. Stephen 3 for 7 in this series. Leads the club in average at .304.
That's also why Arrieta gets a lot of check swings with 2 strikes on that breaking ball.
Rain is in the forecast this afternoon. We were told when we went home to the team hotel last night, it's going to rain from 8 in the morning till 8 at night.
8 to 8.
Well, we're playing baseball. Here's a 1-1. Runner goes. And a fly ball lifted into center. Matt Caesar puts it away. Michael Wacha gets the call today for the Cardinals. Chicago coming up in the home half of the first. No score. 3-game losing skid this year. That was in late May. His lineup: Coughlin, Hayward, and Bryant here in the first. Rizzo, the cleanup man, leads the club in home runs and RBIs. Then Zobrist, Montero, Baez, Caesar, and Arrieta. Michael Wacha gets the call today for the Cardinals. Lost his last start. Gave up just 1 run in 7 2/3. It was last Friday, a 1-0 loss to Texas and Cole Hamels.
No, Dan, normally velocity is not on the chart as the most important thing in getting guys out. Now, naturally, it is for a Aroldis Chapman or somebody like that, but not for Michael Wacha. However, it's very important for Michael to reach 95, 96 because it makes that changeup that much better. Probably more, I think probably more than any other pitcher in the National League.
There's an 0-1 pitch. Tim, he hit 98 on the gun last Friday in the first inning.
I didn't realize that.
And it just made everything else so much more effective.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with the changeup. That's hit out of play. Pitch at 95. You know, for Wacha, the velocity has not been the issue all year. His velocity's been pretty good. But it's been the downward plane that we always talk about from the tall right-hander.
Right. That tilt from a guy 6'6" makes it that much more difficult. Looks like he's pitching closer to home than most guys.
Positioned perfectly, Diaz. Wide throw to Adams. He stays on the bag for the out, and there's one away. Around the Horn is presented by Dobbs. Moss in left, Long in center. Piscotty is in right. Peralta, Diaz on the left side of the infield. Carpenter and Adams on the right side. Yadier Molina is behind the plate. Wacha has had his issues with the Chicago Cubs. 10 career starts, 3.5 ERA over 6. And back on May 24th against these Cubbies, he gave up 8 runs. That's when he was in that really bad rut, and now he's looking more and more like the Michael Wacha we've seen in the past.
Good change up there. Jason Hayward way out in front.
Here's an 0-2. Hayward has had his problems against his former team after leading the Cardinals in hits and average last year when he hit 293. Off to a very slow start after signing that big deal here with the Chicago Cubs. There's a breaking ball taken inside.
Problem with Michael Wacha's curveball is it's a bit too readable still. Work in progress.
Let's talk about that a little bit. When you see a breaking ball, and you've caught thousands of them, you say readable. For the fans at home, what are you able to detect?
Readability.
Boy, you just dove into that one, didn't you?
Was that redundant? Well, you could pick the ball up.
Little chopper that's hit to second, gloved by Carpenter.
If a pitcher like a hitter has a slot, if he's throwing the ball out of a slot fastball changeup from like 3/4, and now all of a sudden with a curveball that the pitching arm is elevated, it's so noticeable, and you just light up because you know it's going to be a breaking ball. It's so different in the delivery. We talked about Arrieta's delivery. Well, Michael Wacha has a difficult time with that curveball and disguising it.
There's Chris Bryant. He, along with Rizzo, both with 17 home runs, 6th most in the National League. Nolan Arenado leads the senior circuit. There's a ground ball. Diaz gloves, throws, and the stretch by Adams. Good start for Michael Wacha. 1-2-3 with 3 ground ball outs. We played one from Wrigley, and there's no score. 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot is here. Head to Cardinals.com, choose your All-Star Game worthy stars, and send them to the All-Star Game. It'll be July 12th in San Diego. Here's Johnny Peralta. First pitch, a ball. June 21st of 2015. Jake Arrieta throws a complete game shutout against the Twins in Minnesota. Great game. Not many people paying attention to it.
Not the beginning, however, of what was to come.
In the last calendar year, he's made 34 starts. His ERA 1.20. Incredible. And it's hard not to think about Bob Gibson, the greatest year for a pitcher, the year that it changed the sport, with a 1.12 in 1968. As Peralta hits it down the left field line, and it hops to the ivy and off the wall. Leadoff double for Johnny Peralta.
Probably more than any other Cardinal, Johnny Peralta's a guess hitter. He guesses fastball a lot, and when he gets it, nobody can top hand a fastball like Peralta. That fastball in the middle of the plate, looking for it. It appeared. Boy, he just buggy whips it down the left field line.
What's amazing to me about that Gibson season, in which you had a front row seat behind the plate, 34 starts, 28 complete games, 13 of which were shutouts. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I guess we should have seen it coming in the World Series in 1967 when he had 3 wins and carried over into 68.
Won the first 2 games that he started, games 1 and 4 in 1968. Of course, game 1, he set a World Series record with 17 strikeouts. And then game 7, Bob lost. And I've said this is not revisionist thinking, but I think we depended too much on Gibson in the World Series. And that, you know, you have a lot of time to think about it. We wouldn't admit it then, but I think it's true. We didn't think anybody could beat Gibson. I mean, nobody. He was a god with a small G.
1 ball, 1 strike on Brandon Moss. As you have reflected on that year, and I know you've been asked about it a lot, just what stands out about 68?
Control. He could throw, and I've said this and it's true, he could throw a ball about double the width of a baseball in an area a little above the knees on the outside corner with a slider or a fastball at will to right-handed batters. Not to left-handers, but to right-handers. They had no chance.
I mean, for me, Tim, I was thinking about the greatest years after looking at that note for Jake Arrieta. I think the most important year, 1947 in baseball history, Jackie Robinson. 1974, Hank Aaron to break Babe Ruth's all-time home run record. But man, Bob Gibson is right there.
You change the dimensions of a sport, you've done something.
Right.
You know, Jim Brown was a great running back, but they didn't make the football field 105 yards instead of 100.
They didn't add a linebacker.
No.
It's incredible.
The basketball hoop is still 10 feet tall. Even after Wilt Chamberlain, LeBron James, and all the other great athletes that have played that game. Hockey's still the same. Soccer's still the same. Tennis is still the same. But in baseball, different plane out there, 10 inches.
Lowered the mound.
Yep.
3-2 here on Brandon Moss. And the 3-2 pitch. Inside, and a walk by Arrieta. The first 2 have reached here in the second.
What makes Jake Arrieta so tough to hit? Well, we talked about how he throws across his body. Let's compare the delivery of Arrieta to the delivery of Michael Wacha. You can see the nearest one where he plants his left foot is Arrieta. So stepping not really toward home plate. That's the illusion of a whipsaw action when he throws the ball on the outside part of the plate. We talked about Gibson, and Jake has the same effect. One closest to you, or there's Jake's in that, and Michael Wacha is like a foot and a half to the left. So Michael Wacha is straight on the home plate, not Arrieta. And the reason pitching coaches have a tough time with that is because there's such a strain on the outside of the shoulder. And Arrieta is such a great physical specimen. That's got to help him.
They talk about his workouts being legendary.
Yes.
I mean, not just for the guys here, but I was actually visiting with the strength and conditioning coach of the Cubs, who's been here a long time. He said, I've never seen anything like it in my life. He said the guy is an animal every day here at the ballpark. Very strict diet. He'll stretch for an hour and a half, and then after stretching get into the weight work and various things to strengthen up the shoulder.
And before he starts warming up for a game, he does push-ups. I have never seen a pitcher do push-ups before he starts throwing, because that's usually an exercise that is not conducive to flexibility.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Yadier Molina, hitting .265 with a home run. He's driven in 24.
Key at bat early here.
We saw the walk to Brandon Moss, and that has been a little different as opposed to what we saw last year in his Cy Young season. He walked 48 total in 229 innings last year. This year, he's already walked 31 in 93 innings coming into play today, so it's about an average of 3 per 9. The 2-2. Up and in to Molina.
We talked about this. Mike Matheny does not have a penchant for sending the runners with the count 3-2, but you've got a contact hitter who leads the National League in grounding into double plays with 12, and that's Molina. And he's a disciplined hitter enough that you can send the runners because he's not going to, that's not going to make him swing at a bad pitch.
Not running on the 3-2, and a strikeout of Molina. Number 3 for Arrieta. And just to further your point, Tim, I think what you're saying, not to put words in your mouth, is that when a guy is rolling like Jake Arrieta is, and let's face it, he's rolling, you've got to do some things outside the box.
You gotta do things that are different that you wouldn't normally do, because you stand toe-to-toe to this guy, you're not going to beat him. Or at least that's been his history over his last year. So take chances. Now, with the runners running, you're not sure that Molina would have taken that pitch.
Right. Here's Colton Wong with 2 runners on. Good cut, fouled back. Wong has been taking the ball the other way a little bit more than we saw when he was first up here in the big leagues beginning of this year. Went down to Memphis. Told me the other day that was one of the things he really was striving for. Take the ball up the middle or to left. Not worry about just yanking the ball out of the ballpark. Now Arrieta wants to talk. Jake won his last 2 starts. Beat the Pirates over the weekend. Struck out 11 in that game. And he allowed just 2 hits in 6 shutout innings.
I don't think Arrieta wants to throw Wong a fastball in this situation. Wong will swing at bad pitches in the dirt when he's behind in the count, as he is now.
Here's an 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jake against the Cardinals has made 11 career starts. He is 6-1, including the division series against Michael Wacha a year ago. Wacha is on deck. And the 1-1 is hit in the air out to shallow right. Hayward backs up to make the catch after initially coming in, and there's 2 down. Walker just 1 for 24 this year. So the Cardinals get the first 2 on with a double down the left field line by Peralta. Walk to Brandon Moss. Strikeout on a 3-2 pitch of Yadier Molina. The fly out by Wong, and now Michael Wacha. Strike 1. Game 1 was only the 3rd win all year when the Cardinals score less than 4 runs. Their record is 3-22 in those games, and runs will be at a premium here today. One thing that has really stood out about St. Louis last couple of weeks, starting pitching has been outstanding. It's kept them in an awful lot of games. Many of those have been 1-run games. The 1-1.
Michael Wacha's, that one part of his anatomy is not cooperating with the other parts. The rear end does not believe what his eyes are telling him.
How many World Series did you call?
Did I call?
Yeah.
129 games.
Did you ever break down an at-bat with that type of analysis?
I'm not sure.
Now, fans, I want you to take a look.
Introduce anatomy at times.
1-2 the count.
That's what facing a guy, though. You know, a guy like Arrieta, you're not. I mean, you're not a position player. You're a pitcher, and he is so unusual with that pitching across his body, where he steps.
Here it comes again. Well, at least Walker's made him work a little bit in this at bat. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks. 2 balls, 2 strikes with 2 outs and 2 on. And a strikeout of Walker, number 4 today for Arrieta, and 2 in the inning. Midway through 2, no score from Wrigley. The second, let's check in with Jim Hayes.
Dan, Michael Wacha coming off back-to-back quality starts, pitching well so far today, but not everything going according to plan for him. Wacha lost a bet to Matt Carpenter when Wacha's Texas A&M Aggies lost to Carpenter's TCU Horned Frogs as TCU advanced to the College World Series. Wacha had to wear the TCU gear as payment. He told me he didn't mind that, but Carpenter putting the picture on social media was not part of the deal. Dan, outside of that, Wacha said Carpenter actually is a pretty gracious winner, not unexpected.
Wacha doesn't, Jimmy, look very happy in that picture.
No, because his team got ousted again by TCU, and he didn't want to have to wear the gear, but a bet's a bet, Dan.
Well, let's face it, that's not a good picture.
No, it's not. He's not happy about it either.
Michael has taken better pictures than that. Matt?
You may recall last year, if Matt Carpenter got to a certain amount of home runs, Adam Wainwright would get him a golf cart painted in TCU colors with the logo. So he got that last year with all the home runs he hit. Anthony Rizzo, Ben Zobrist, and Miguel Montero for Chicago.
As Roy Campanello said, you got to have a lot of little boy in you to play this game. Major league players love to have that little boy coming out in them. It's fun.
Gotta keep it fresh too.
I'm telling you.
Rizzo in the air, out to right center, calling for it. It will be Colton Wong, and he makes the catch. Take a look at the Hyundai pitch arsenal on Michael Wacha. Fastball, the cutter, the changeup, rising a bit in usage.
It doesn't matter with his changeup. It's all in the motion. If the motion's good, it doesn't matter if it's up.
Think of the great Mario Soto, who had an unbelievable changeup.
He did. Back in the early 80s, great pitcher from the Dominican Republic.
Many years with the Cincinnati Reds.
And, of course, Pedro Martinez.
Greg Maddux. Most recently from the left side, Johan Santana had a great changeup. Threw a no-hitter against the Cardinals, and the only no-hitter ever thrown by a New York Met. One ball, one strike on Ben Zobrist. And a ground ball that's hit to the right side. There's Carpenter. That's 5 outs, and 4 have been recorded on the ground for Michael Wacha.
Can you remember a time when the first 4 outs recorded by Michael Wacha were ground balls? I can't.
Back in 2013, when that changeup and fastball were really rolling. I mean, he's looking more and more like the guy that we saw at the beginning of last season when he was an all-star. 2013, that great postseason run. And the other part of it too that I've noticed is just the command of the strike zone. Not walking nearly as many as he was. Many pitches not up in the zone. This is Miguel Montero, picked up by Chicago in a trade before last year with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Cardinals trying to pick up their first sweep at Wrigley Field since 1988. A team that was led in home runs by Tom Brunansky. A total of 22. Jose Oquendo led the team in average at 277, and their top pitcher in 1988 in terms of wins and losses was Jose De Leon. 13-game winner. The 2-2. And a strikeout of Montero. First of the afternoon for Michael Wacha. And he looks sharp. Catches the outside corner here on Montero. No score as we head to the third. Here's a look at Matt Carpenter. He'll lead it off. You know, we have an unbelievable researcher behind the scenes for us, so helpful in Dan Hyatt.
Oh yeah.
Dan is just an invaluable resource to what we do, and he's come up with a really good stat with Matt Carpenter. I'll tell you about it here after the 0-1 pitch. Only 5 players in the leadoff spot have ever reached 50 home runs while hitting 300 or better and getting on base at a 375 clip. And it's a who's who. Paul Molitor, Pete Rose, Derek Jeter, Hanley Ramirez, and now Matt Carpenter. How about that? That's Dan Hyatt, invaluable to us, and we appreciate everything that he does. Great stat.
The great thing about Dan is he makes you think.
Yes, he does. I don't always agree with what he has to say.
Yeah, that's okay.
And I
just
really
myriad observations about the game, though, that make you think, and you like that.
And I rarely agree with you, so
I know
it's perfect.
You don't. Yeah, I know. I noticed that.
I agree with many things that you bring up.
I'm kidding. Some you get on rolls. You go 3 or 4 games in a row where you agree with everything. Then you'll be contentious for a week.
But I earned today a nice Tim McCarver towards
me. Did you ever? You found my phone.
Found your phone. Inside to Carpenter. So Dan, if you're watching, we appreciate everything you do.
Matt may get a fastball here, and that's the one thing you try to, during your at-bat, you try to pick out one pitch that's predictable from Arrieta. Carpenter very, very good at that. Let's see if he gets the heater.
And the 3-2. Ground ball that's hit to first. Rizzo to Arrieta. And Carpenter is 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a ground out.
We've talked about throwing across your body. What does that mean? Watch Arrieta to the right of your screen where his left foot is planted. Looks like with the telestrator that it's out of the batter's box, and it is. And Michael Wacha, more conventional, throwing it right toward the batter and right toward home plate, but not Arrieta. And it's a big reason, that pitch right there. That's why that outside fastball is so important, and why he gets a lot of strike calls on that pitch.
I've heard you talk about it. We mentioned the other night Ben Zobrist and how he tries to keep the front shoulder in and what he does with his chin and his shoulder. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, this is something now the right-handers really have to do with Jake Arrieta.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. To stay in there against that fastball away. Because hitters, they don't know it, but they follow the foot of the pitcher, the landing foot. They don't know it.
A ball and 2 strikes on Aledmys Diaz. Single to center. 1 for 1 today.
Remember Sid Fernandez, the left-hander for the Mets?
Oh,
great
sure.
pitcher. And we used to have a saying about a guy like that. His foot hit the ground before his arm came around. And Arrieta, in much the same way, is responsible for the success of Jake over the last year and a half. The foot hits the ground before the arm comes around.
A great staff that they had. Ron Darling, Sid Fernandez, Dwight Gooden,
David Cone.
So much fun, that rivalry. Mets and Cardinals back in the 80s.
Man. Got very personal between Whitey Herzog and Davey Johnson, too. Many times.
Cardinals won in 82, 85, 87. Mets in 86, 88. Mets won the World Series in that famous play with Bill Buckner in 1986. 1988, they were eliminated by the Dodgers.
Oral Hershiser, MVP of the playoffs and the World Series.
'86 featured one of the great postseason games that I don't think it's talked about enough, but the long affair between Houston and the Mets.
16 innings.
16.
Won by the Mets. Jesse Orosco with the save. Actually with, the save, right.
Kevin Bass had a huge game, and eventually what was a loss for Houston. Mike Scott was a part of that team. How good was he back in the 80s?
Meanwhile, the Angels and the Red Sox in Anaheim. Red Sox winning a game that there is no way they can win. And Gene Mott, no chance for a World Series, and never was a manager in the World Series.
Dave Henderson's home run off of Donnie Moore.
Dave Henderson, I believe he passed away here within the last year, but he lived in that Seattle area, and that's where the Cardinals go and enjoy the off day tomorrow.
Seattle right now really struggling in the American League West.
Yeah.
After a good start led by Robinson Cano. 3-2 pitch again. And Diaz hits it down the left field line. Foul. I think I've seen a batter jump as high as Dave Henderson after hitting that home run.
Hit it off Donnie Moore,
who eventually took his own life. He never was the same after that pitch. 3-2 to Diaz. Stays alive. Ten pitch at bat here for Aledmys Diaz. And Diaz pulls that foul. Good battle here. Three-two, and Diaz lines it into right. There's Jason Hayward. American Girl and the Cardinals teaming up on Monday, July 18th for an exciting theme night at the ballpark. Fans who purchase a special theme ticket take home a Cardinals baseball t-shirt for their American Girl doll and a special offer from the American Girl store in St. Louis. Get your theme tickets now at cardinals.com/theme. Took 3 pitches and Adam struck out his first time up. So outside of all the different promotional giveaways the Cardinals have, they also have those select theme nights. A lot of fun. Here's an 0-1 pitch. Cubs made several roster moves prior to the game yesterday. Adam Warren sent to AAA. They're going to try to stretch him out to make one start before the break. Today, the 6th in a stretch of 24 straight for the Cubs. They decided to go with a 6-man rotation briefly, so it gives their starters an extra day. Warren comes in, and Joe Madden saying before the game this afternoon that Warren could make a start after the All-Star break as well. Adams 0 for 2, strikeout number 5 through 3 innings for Jake Arrieta. No score from Wrigley Field. brought to you by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Windy City of Chicago. What a time. Summer months. Young lady on the right is the Cardinals translator, helping out with Aledmys Diaz and some of the others. And Brian Bartow there on the left, longtime media relations director with the St. Louis Cardinals. Here's Javier Baez. First pitch fouled back.
Probably more than any other National League hitter, this guy does not get cheated.
Like that.
Swing as hard as you can in case you hit it.
And with that, and there's power production there, but a lot of strikeouts too. Incredible rate a couple of years ago when he was initially called up.
Had 95 and about 290 plate appearances. Unbelievable.
Oh, 2 the count. Outfield is straight away and deep. Wong plays a very deep center field. I would imagine as he gets more comfortable, he'll come in a few steps.
You got to work on going back on the ball, and he really hasn't had that much time to work on anything as a defensive center fielder.
For those that don't know, Colton Wong played in 58 games as a freshman at the University of Hawaii in center field, then transitioned to the infield. One ball and 2 strikes.
57-footer. That was a changeup. Ball bouncing about 3 feet in front of home plate.
Very efficient so far. 20 strikes in his 29th throw. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Baez. Caesar on deck, and then Arrieta. Little chopper up the third base line and foul. Cavaliers in the NBA celebrating their championship. First major pro championship since the Browns won the NFL title 1964. To remind you just how long it has been for the Chicago Cubs. There's a strikeout. Last time the Cubs reached the World Series was 1945. The Nationals / Expos have never been. Seattle, next team the Cardinals face, they have never been to a World Series. 1908, last time the Cardinals won a World Series. Or rather, the Cubs. The Cardinals, since that time, this is a team that has enjoyed some great championship runs.
Cubs had a player named Baker, and his nickname was Home Run Baker. I think he had 12 home runs in 1908. Home Run Baker.
All that great power.
Yeah. 12
home runs. 1 to Matt Caesar. Cardinals have been to 18 World Series and 11 they have won since the Cubs' last title. Essentially, the way it breaks down, every 25 years, someone in St. Louis has celebrated a title. May have offered at it, but pulled back, called a ball. And a high fly ball into right center. Colton Wong makes the catch. Ooh, that one almost came out of his glove. Pretty casual with some of these catches.
Yeah, you can't be blasé about that. That ball rattling around in the pocket. I was thinking it was either 1906 or 1908 when that poem was written. about Tinkers to Evers to Chance. Frank Chance was the first baseman. Tinkers and Evers the middle infielders. In that poem, the word gonfalon was used. G-O-N-F-A-L-O-N. You know what it means? A pennant flag. I didn't know.
Really?
Yeah, right. A gonfalon. I remember on a network game, Al Michaels used that, and I said, after the inning, I'm going to the bathroom and I won't be gone for long. Al liked that.
Here's the 1-2, and Arrieta strikes out. Tim is going to leave the booth. He won't be gone for long. Gone for long, whatever you want to say. Rocket arms. Fernandez, Kershaw, Syndergaard, Scherzer. Highest percentage of swings, misses. Jose Fernandez, a 9-game winner. Kershaw, 11-game winner. Syndergaard has been arguably the best pitcher for New York this year. Max Scherzer, anytime out, you feel like he could just pick up 20 strikeouts or maybe throw a no-hitter.
Yeah, those are 4 reasons why there aren't that many runs scored during an all-star game.
Good point. Kershaw and Arrieta both are 11-game winners. Johnny Cueto also an 11-game winner. Strasburg and Greinke 10, and then Fernandez and John Lester with 9.
There are guys in the truck. Gonfalon, a banner or pennant, especially one with streamers, hung from a crossbar. I guess not the American flag in center field of the scoreboard, above the scoreboard here at Wrigley, but I would assume that those are the types of flags that are referred to in that Tinkers to Evers to Chance point.
Here's a 1-1. As Piscotty taps it foul. Fly to center his first time up. Piscotty here, then Peralta and Moss. They've had teams here in Chicago that have been close. Most recent 2003. 5 outs away from going to the World Series. And the expectations are just so high this season for the Chicago Cubs. Understandably so.
When it was the best 3 out of 5 in 1984, the Cubs won the first 2 games here at Wrigley, then lost 3 in a row in San Diego.
Bull Durham right between his legs.
Yep.
And San Diego went to face Detroit. And people talk about the great Kirk Gibson home run off of Dennis Eckersley in 1988, but he had a pretty big home run in 1984 too, wearing the Detroit uniform. There's a little ketchup and mustard if you need a little extra for your hot dogs.
Hot dogs there.
On the ground to third, Chris Bryant. Piscotty 0 for 2. Best chance for the Cardinals was back in the second inning. Leadoff double, then a walk to Moss, so 2 on, nobody out. Couldn't cash in.
Yeah, the Cardinals are not a team that moves runners along. They're a team that scores a lot of runs with the home run ball and things like that. Second in the National League in homers. But you get a guy on second and nobody out. They don't always move that runner and then have him score on a sacrifice fly. It's an unusual way for the Cardinals to plate runs.
0-1 pitch to Johnny Peralta. Double down the left field line. 1 for 1 today. And the 1-1 from Jake Arrieta. Look at the Hyundai pitch arsenal. Fastball, cutter, curve, and change for Arrieta. It's amazing. He was a marginal, maybe even below average major league pitcher in Baltimore, and he comes to Chicago and things have just taken off. Popped up. Montero giving it a look, and it's out of play. 2 strikes.
That's a pitch that Johnny Peralta can handle, that high fastball. There was such a small margin in fouling a ball back and hitting a ball hard.
The 2-2. And Peralta again down the left field line. It's fair into the corner. And Johnny Peralta picks up his second double of the game and his 6th of the year.
You think about it, a high fastball his first time up and a high hanger on a 3-2 count. That ball really hanging up there, and Johnny Peralta, more than any other Cardinal, a high ball hitter. There again, those fingers are below the ball. That ball has only one way to go, and that's up. Just hanging there for a good major league hitter like Peralta to handle, and he did.
Now Brandon Moss. Pitch taken in. 5th plate appearance for the Cardinals with a man in scoring position today.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Arrieta's going to give Moss anything good to hit right here with Molina and Wong on deck and in the hold.
Taken low, 2 balls, no strikes. Muggy afternoon here at Wrigley Field after the rain this morning. Cloudy day, but certainly warm. Outfield is straight away. And the 2-0. 2 balls, 1 strike. Off day tomorrow. Cardinals have Carlos Martinez going on Friday night. Mike Leake Saturday. Jaime Garcia on Sunday for the 3 games against Seattle.
Cardinals going to face King Felix.
They do not.
Out there?
Nope.
No? That guy can pitch, and he has pitched for a long time.
Yeah.
Has his own rooting section in right field. I think they call it the King in his court or something like that. Hugely popular in Seattle.
With the kind of numbers and the success that he's had, and as you mentioned, for a long time, you just wonder if he's pitching in LA, New York, Chicago, how much more attention would we be giving to what he's done?
That's really true. The only attention that he really gets is during an all-star game. Now,
two balls and two strikes. Inside. Moss leads the club in strikeouts with 60. Picked up his 19th walk of the year back in inning number 2. Arrieta won strikeout number 6. He won't get it. His second walk. And both have been to Brandon Moss. Molina struck out on a borderline 3-2 pitch, looking back in the second inning with 2 runners on. 0 for 1 today.
One thing is Johnny Peralta must get a good jump at second base, because Molina, more likely than not, will hit the ball to right field, and Hayward, one of the best throwing outfielders in the major leagues.
You're Chris Maloney. Do you take more chances with Arrieta on the mound?
Well, you try to encourage Peralta to take a bigger lead at second base.
Molina pops it fouling out of play near the Cardinals bullpen.
Sometimes the chance you take is from second, not when you get to third. If you have a good break from second base, then you make it easy on third base coach Chris Maloney.
The best of the outfield arms is in right. We saw that a bunch last year in Jason Hayward. It's a good one. Here's the 0-1. Now 0-2. One ball and 2 strikes. Chevy Fox tracks. How close was it? Chop left side and a foul ball. Cardinals start play today. 4 games above 500, 37-33. 10.5 games back of the Cubs. The Cardinals, though, are 10 games above 500 on the road. They've won 7 straight road games. Last loss was game 1 of their road trip through Cincinnati and Pittsburgh.
That was hittable. Good cut by Molina, just fouled it back. You don't see too many fastballs down the middle of the plate thrown by Arrieta.
The 1-2. Missed again. 2-2.
Getting the crowd in there, that was both low and outside. Crowd here at Wrigley Field so used to Arrieta getting pitches like that.
Sure.
Because of his success.
The 2-2.
Same situation, 3-2. Yadier Molina up, bottom of the lineup. And Mike Matheny does not like to send the runners. And that one particular point, I do not agree with Mike. I think you got to take chances against a guy like Arrieta. Not only staying out of the double play, you're moving infielders around, giving the guy at second base, Peralta, a better chance to score on a hit.
They are not running, and it swung on and missed. Strikeout number 6 for Jake Arrieta. Your center fielder Colton Wong with 2 outs and 2 on. Fly to shallow right first time up. He's 0 for 1. Inning started with a ground out by Piscotty, then a double by Peralta, walk by Moss, strikeout of Yadier Molina, who now is 0 for 2. First pitch to Colton Wong. And Wong smokes it into center field. Caesar is back, and he makes the catch up against the ivy. Bottom of inning number 4, and we check in again with Jim Hayes.
Dan, no outside batting practice again for the Cardinals because of the rain. That's 2 of the 3 days no outside BP. Mike Matheny said at this point in the season that might actually be a good thing. He said his players had ample access to the indoor cage, and he tries to limit the amount of time the team spends on the field before games at some point anyway. Matheny told me he'll specifically ask some guys to skip BP. He told me he'll explain, hey, it's not like, look over here, I'm working hard. He says sometimes a break is actually a good thing. Then, of course, when you're facing Arrieta, might not make a difference anyway.
He's been tough today, but so is this man, Michael Wacha. We had one of our evenings with the Cardinals last year with Lou Brock and Red Schoendienst. And I asked Red, I said, when did you get to the ballpark and how much has the game changed from when you played to now? And he said, well, Stan, myself, we would drive each other to the ballpark, and we'd get there about 5:30, 6 o'clock, take 6 swings, maybe 7, 8, and lace them up and let's go.
There's a difference, Dan, in working hard and working smart. And you have to work smart in baseball. And I agree with Matheny totally about that. Sometimes the best batting practice is no batting practice.
We've heard managers literally say they lock the clubhouse. You are not to be at the ballpark until, let's say, 5:15 for a 7 o'clock game. Yeah.
Like Bob Uecker said when he was released, and they told him no visitors allowed. The clubhouse attendant. That was their way of telling him he was no longer part of the team.
Last time we saw Bob, we also had a tuba in the booth thanks to Mike Shannon.
Yes, right.
upstairs by Coughlin, and it's the first base runner that Michael Wacha will deal with today.
And we said last night, talking to Mo Moselli, or John Mozeliak, I was thinking of the old scout, Mo Moselli. Mo, they're both Mo's. And we were talking about the minor leagues and preaching that if you walk the leadoff hitter, he's going to score. And if you get that in your mind, then that cuts down on leadoff walks.
Strike two, Hayward. First at bat fell behind 0-1. Next pitch, then he saw a changeup, swung through it, and eventually grounded out to second. 10 of 11 first pitch strikes for Michael Wacha. Mo really has turned into one of the finest in the game at what he does. Not just with the big club, but all business operations of the St. Louis Cardinals and the minor leagues. And
no argument here.
Proof is in the pudding, isn't it? I mean, this team is competitive year after year after year. 0-1 pitch. Pick off and back in safely is Coughlin.
That's the most effective way for a catcher to throw behind the left-handed batter. The reason for that, if you're at first base, you can't tell that he's coming out of the chute throwing. And Molina is so quick. By the time you get your dive down, often you're out.
Molina and Pujols for years were on the same page. Whether it was with a sign intentionally to throw there or not, they just kind of knew where the other was going to be and when to do it. Yadier Molina, leading vote getter currently of the National League catchers, ahead of Buster Posey at last check. 77,000 votes in front of him. As Hayward pops it up into shallow left, this may drop. No, it's a sliding catch by Holiday. He'll throw to first. This is a double play. Check that. It is Moss in left field who makes that sliding catch. And then the strong throw to Matt Adams. Well, Coughlin took a chance. Then he had to backtrack around second base. Moss got a late jump, and he comes up with a dandy.
If you take a chance like that, you got to keep going because you're not going to get back to first base. Great play by Moss. Easy double play. How many 7-3 double plays do you see? But I mean,
turned 3 double plays last night.
If you're Coughlin and you round second base, the ball's got to drop. If he makes the catch, it's going to be a double play anyway. There's no way you can get back to first base in time to prevent the double play.
So here is Chris Bryant.
And Coughlin made the right move. He's going. He decides it's going to be a base hit. No, now he slows down. Now it's a base hit. See, you might as well keep going. Hope he drops it. Then at least, if he does drop it, you're going to be at third base. Minimum.
Three 3-0 on Bryant. It was 7 for 17 off of Michael Wacha with a pair of home runs. Middle of the lineup has done a lot of damage over the last couple of years against Michael Wacha.
Probably swinging here.
Man on deck, 11 for 27, 2 home runs. That's Rizzo. One pitch, and he walked him. So 2 walks today, both coming in this inning. 2016, the 90th anniversary of the 1926 World Series championship team. That's July 1st. 30,000 fans ages 16 and older take home the wearable replica 26 championship ring. courtesy of Edward Jones. And then after the game, a Cooper Tires fireworks night. So kick off your weekend with the ring and the fireworks. Anthony Rizzo flying to center. Back of the second inning. Speaking of center field, that was a really good play by Matt Caesar.
Yes, it was.
Off the bat of Colton Long.
The ability to go back on a ball, very important, but particularly for a center fielder more than any other outfielder.
One ball, one strike. The shift is on here for Rizzo. One ball and two strikes.
Heard that song, great Illinois song. Oh, how I wish I was in Peoria. I think Wong is playing in Peoria right now in center field.
This is about as stretched out a shift the Cardinals will play on anybody. And Rizzo beats it. Takes it the other way. So with two strikes, Peralta actually moved 3, 4, maybe even 5 steps to his left of where he was and right where that ball went to. This will be the first plate appearance for the Cubs with a man in scoring position today, and it brings in Ben Zobrist, who is from just outside Peoria. And now Molina wants to talk to Michael Wacha, maybe about approach or the signs, change those up with a man at second. Michael Wacha breezed through the first 3 innings. And here in this 4th, it's been 18 pitches thrown.
Think how big that double play was, turned by Brandon Moss.
Huge. Wonder how frustrated Michael Wacha gets, or any pitcher, with that advanced of a shift when you make a pretty good pitch with 2 strikes to Rizzo.
Pitchers are not always happy with with the new metrics and all the shifts. Some of them feel like the shift takes away as much as it gives you.
So 2 outs and 2 on. Strike 1 on Zobrist. Leads their club in walks. He has 44. His on-base percentage for the year, .471. Oh, 1 pitch. Changeup taken low.
Talked about the steps of Arrieta and Wacha. Sometimes they drag their back foot, I guess feet, differently. Such violence in that throw, particularly a guy as tall as Wacha.
And there's strike 2.
Good change.
Didn't like it. Getting an earful is Quinn Wolcott, the home plate umpire. Paul Immel, the crew chief, at first. Pat Hoberg at second. Mark Carlson is at third. Ground ball slowly hit to the right side, and Carpenter gets Zobrist. Cubs strand their first 2 of the afternoon. We've got a pitcher's duel. Fun ball game in game 3. There's no score. Michael Wacha leads it off and looks at a strike. Arrieta has struck out 6, walked 2, and he's given up 3 base hits. Little chopper that's hit to short. Javier Baez makes the play.
Hey, the Cardinals have had some pretty good at bats against Arrieta. Been 5 3-2 counts today. Even though they haven't scored, you're looking for something positive. Well, it's positive.
You know, Matt Carpenter, if you're looking for an odd stat, I went back and looked at when he had his baby. He and his lovely wife had their new beautiful daughter. He's played in 19 games. He's made only 42 outs.
In 19 games.
In 19
About
games.
two outs a game.
So he's walking, he's hitting, he's getting on base. And he's not getting any sleep. The 0-1. Tim, you think about this rivalry and the Cubs and the Cardinals and how many great moments have been tied in between these two teams. The individual achievements. Brock and Musial with their 3,000th hit coming against the Chicago Cubs.
The Brock trade.
The Brock trade for Brolio. Bruce Sutter wins a Cy Young Award with the Chicago Cubs. A World Series, though, with the Cardinals. Home run number 62 for Mark McGwire. Happens in St. Louis against the Cubs. Ernie Banks, his first 2 home runs against the Cardinals. It's amazing. Harry Carey.
Might be the biggest of all. Harry Carey's defection, you might say. First to Oakland for a year, and then to the White Sox. And then he came to the north side where he exploded in popularity.
And there's your walk for Matt Carpenter. 48 of those this year. Our BJC Healthcare difference maker. And a closer look at Brandon Moss and Matt Carpenter. Carpenter came in 3rd in the league in walks. I mentioned the White Sox, and this is a pretty famous date in baseball history when Carlton Fisk decided that enough was enough. And he retired this date back in 1993. One of the great catchers ever in the game of baseball.
One of the more memorable home runs in postseason play in Game 6, 11th inning off Pat Darcy to win it for the Red Sox in 1975 against the Reds. Then Cincinnati came back to win Game 7.
It was in the 12th inning of Game 6.
Yeah, 12th inning. I said 11th, but you're right.
Hit and run to perfection. Carpenter on his way to 3rd.
Boy, was that pretty. It's almost poetic. A hit and run when a right-handed hitter hits the ball behind the runner. Diaz just putting the ball in play. Routine ground ball. Rizzo holding Carpenter close. Matt making sure the ball was through, looking over his shoulder. And he's at 3rd with 1 out. The best scoring opportunity for either team today.
And here's Matt Adams.
Got to make contact here. Matt has struck out his first 2 times up.
It's hard not to think about Carlton Fisk waving the home run fair in one of the most historic and iconic shots in baseball history. It really changed the way that the game is covered in television. The NBC cameraman at that time, his name was Lou Gerard. And he said,
Harry Coyle was the director, right?
And he said he was distracted by a nearby rat, so he was unable to follow the ball. He kept the camera on Fisk instead, and it's really a catalyst in getting camera operators to focus a lot of the attention on the players themselves.
Memorable call by Dick Stockton,
right?
Who was a Red Sox broadcaster that year, first year broadcasting Major League Baseball.
Think about that. It's a rat that changes how we watch the games today, thanks to the rat that was distracting a cameraman. As Chris Bosio is out to visit with Jake Arrieta. Two balls and no strikes as we play here in the fifth. Interesting to see that at 98 pitches, a right-hander is up in the pen for the Chicago Cubs.
It is interesting. Interesting from a Cardinal standpoint is if you're Matt Adams, if you're going to guess, go ahead and guess. And if you get your pitch, hammer it. Don't foul it back and don't swing through it. I know that sounds very simple. That's the approach you have to take right here. You have the hammer.
The 2-0 pitch to Matt Adams. On its way. Just missed. Boy, he's been borderline on some of these pitches, but let's give the home plate umpire, Quinn Wolcott, some credit. We see this on Fox Tracks time and again, and for the most part, he's been right.
Yeah, that ball's low, clearly.
Piscotty on deck and a 3-0 pitch. In the dirt, it's a walk. 4 walks for Arrieta. And now the base is loaded. 1 out for the man that's leading the league in average with runners in scoring position, Stephen Piscotty at 492.
Cardinals love this with Carpenter on at third base, Diaz at second, and Matt Adams at first. With the best hitter in the National League with runners in scoring position. That's Stephen Piscotty.
What an opportunity here for the Cardinals. First pitch, a strike to Piscotty. 4 for 6, does have a grand slam and 8 RBIs this season. Overall 7 for 12 with the bases loaded. And the 0-1. Popped up behind home plate. Montero out of room. 0-2 the count. There it is, what we spoke of earlier, 492. Then John Jay, the former Cardinal, above 400 in this spot. The 0-2. Good cut by Piscotty.
Boy, that was a mistake at the wrong time, and Arrieta got away with it. He wanted this pitch more outside, right down the pipe, and Piscotty missed it.
Two again. Piscotty hit left side. Out at second. And the pick, no. 1 run is in. Here comes another, and the Cardinals grab a lead against Arrieta.
Boy, you have got to love the alert play of Aledmys Diaz coming home. He saw that Rizzo, uncharacteristically of Anthony, not going after the ball very hard when it filtered into foul territory, and Diaz took advantage of it and scored. Excellent base running. This ball's got to be completed. I don't know. I think if there's an error, and there will be on the play, I think it's got to be on Rizzo. Good base running by Diaz.
So 2 outs and a runner at first. And a 2-0 Cardinals lead.
Got to be an error on the play allowing Diaz to score, doesn't it, Dan?
There is. I'm just not sure if they're going to give it to Zobrist or Rizzo.
I don't think the ball hit the dirt at first, did it?
Couldn't quite tell.
Oh, it did. Well,
so if that's the case, it probably goes against Zobrist.
That's probably true.
Runner goes and a high fly ball lifted into right. Jason Hayward puts it away. What should have been an inning-ending double play turns into a 2-run lead for the Cardinals midway through 5. One of the great giveaways coming up. 30,000 fans ages 16 and older head home with a Cardinals cooler backpack courtesy of Coca-Cola. Cardinals.com/promotions. So school is out. Promo items are up and ready for fans to take home. Now the team needs to play a little better at home.
Yeah.
But on the road, they've been outstanding.
Looking for their 8th straight win on the road.
Here's Miguel Montero, struck out first time up. First pitch popped up. Diaz backing up. One away. Michael Wacha has allowed 1 base hit. He's had a little bump in the road. That was in the 4th with 2 walks, but escaped with no runs allowed. And boy, he's looked good today.
Well, look at the outs, and that's what you could do. If a pitcher has a shutout through the first 4 1/3, you look at the outs that have been recorded, and you find the Cubs have not hit the ball hard at all. That could change, but so far, some weak outs by the Cubs.
The ruling on that play off the bat of Piscotty is a fielder's choice E4, so the second error on Ben Zobrist and an RBI for Piscotty as he picks up number 38.
Still, there was something wrong with Rizzo. I mean, maybe he thought he had the ball in his glove. Sometimes those first baseman mitts are so big that you lose the feel of the ball, and went after it rather awkwardly, allowing Diaz to score.
Let's take a closer look at what you're talking about here.
No, hit the heel of the glove. No. But then he looks in the glove. I don't know. It was just a weird play for a guy who always hustles like Rizzo.
That last pitch by Wacha at 97. Two balls and 2 strikes. Boy, you said it earlier. I mean, Baez does not get cheated. That's a 2-strike swing.
Yeah, right. Good point. That's a 2-0 or 3-1 swing, not a 2-2 swing.
Guys just don't care anymore about the strikeout.
No, that's
just
true.
Throw it out the window.
That's true, and that's not right for them not to care about striking out.
The 2-2. And he strikes out looking here. Number 4 for Michael Wacha.
And the second time looking, Baez. Good pitch inside. Good call by Molina. Once again, best time to pitch hitters inside is with 2 strikes.
Just thinking ahead a little bit here.
Give it to us.
If it gets to a save situation, you've had Rosenthal in back-to-back games. Many managers don't like to use a closer 3 games in a row. Now, you do have the off day tomorrow, but it'll be interesting to see how the Cardinals play late innings, 8th and 9th, with Seung-Hwan Oh.
Segras threw only 11 pitches last night, so
another factor.
Yeah.
But a long ways to get to that point. Almora has moved to the on-deck circle, so we would assume that's it for Jake Arrieta. That would be his spot. Threw 106 pitches here today.
Well, if Caesar makes an out, you may see a double switch in the top of the 6th inning.
Three balls, 1 strike.
Put Almora into center field, having bat 9th, and have the new pitcher batting 8th. Joe Madden figuring that out right now. 2 ways to go, really.
Sure. 3-2 pitch. Jammed him. Popped up. Molina gives it a look. We'll do it again.
You know what, Dan? A very important point that is often, I think, underlooked is the cadence of a pitcher and a catcher, the rhythm. There are no statistics for it, but you can just feel Wacha pitching with confidence.
5 strikeouts for Michael Wacha as we're through 5. Raider coverage of baseball is brought to you by T-Mobile. Yadier Molina leading the All-Star Game catchers for the National League in votes, and you can vote at Cardinals.com. So Arrieta is out of the game. Jake Arrieta has made 48 starts, including today, since the beginning of last season, when he's only gone 5 innings, and this is our Chevy call to the pen, Justin Grimm.
Second time this year against the Cardinals he's gone 5 innings.
And just the 7th time in 48 starts since the beginning of last year, and 2 have been against the Cardinals.
Oh, gosh. No double switch, by the way. Caesar goes to center field, so that it's a straight up switch, and there'll be a pinch hitter for Grimm in the bottom of the 6th.
Moss greets him with a ball past Rizzo. It's off the sidewall and handled there by Hayward. Brandon Moss with his 8th double of the year, and he's on base for the 3rd time to go along with a pair of walks.
Boy, what a good game by Brandon Moss. Great defensive play, a 7-3 double play. He's walked a couple of times. Now a leadoff double here in the 6th.
And another play that looked like Rizzo just didn't handle with ease like he normally does. Not to say it's an easy play.
No. Hanging breaking ball by Grimm. Brandon turning to the catcher Montero, saying, "I'll handle this one, Miguel. Thank you."
And that gets away from Montero. Advancing to 3rd, Brandon Moss.
That had to be a cross-up, don't you think?
Yes.
New pitcher in the game. First pitch he's made with a runner at second base, but Montero not going out to talk to Grimm. That sure looked like a cross-up to me. It's when you're looking for the local and you get the express. Your life passes in front of your eyes.
Infield is drawn in for Yadier Molina. And Molina chops it left side. Play at the plate. Throw wide. Safe. Moss is safe at the plate.
On contact with nobody out. I guess what Mike Matheny is thinking, it makes a lot of sense. You've got Wong the next batter and then Waka. So you try to score when you can, and a great jump from 3rd base by Brandon Moss. Boy, I'm telling you, what a game he's played. Bang. Immediately, the throw is high, the slide is low, and Montero is hurt.
Just to further the point, by the way, on Jake Arrieta, he's pitched only 5 innings in 3 of his last 6 starts, including today. Twice against the Cardinals, and the other game was a loss against Arizona. That'll be it for Montero. They have a couple of guys that they can thrust into this spot, David Ross or Wilson Contreras. A great play by Moss again.
Oh, telling you, what a game he's had. The double play from left field, 2 walks, leadoff double, and scoring on a ball that a lot of guys wouldn't even attempt to score on.
And with that run scored, it's now 3-0 as Contreras comes in the game. And he'll warm up throwing 200 miles an hour. This guy's got a cannon.
He's fun to watch, I'll tell you.
Yes, he is.
Coming in the game, least expected to come in the game. Now he's got to straighten out the signs.
This may sound crazy, but you're up 3. Molina, pretty headsy base runner. Would you at least expect a, let's just say, delayed steal from Yadier Molina? It's a young catcher like this?
No.
He does it against the guys you least expected.
No.
I'm just saying.
Stop it.
I'm just throwing it out and presenting it.
Well, I'm throwing it out too. No.
Well, you threw it right back in my face. It's not out. It's all over my face right now. Base hit for Wong. His second hard hit ball. This one is into center field.
One of the first rules you said we started working together 3 years ago was to be honest with you. So I'm being honest with you.
Well, I just wanted it on certain things. Rizzo way in at first base.
Shake hands with him.
So Waka, who has 1 sacrifice this year at the plate. Runners at first and second.
You know the best place to bunt it? Down the first baseline. Because what Anthony Rizzo.
No.
Yes.
No.
Look where Rizzo is, and I'll prove the point then. Now, don't you start being defiant because I was defiant. It's a one-way defiance up here in the booth. Absolutely, I know it. But look at Rizzo. Bunted down the first baseline.
Trying to go to the third base side, and Rizzo makes the catch.
I mean, you got to work on these things. Don't bunt the ball where you know he's going to be. Bunt it where he came from. Right or wrong?
No.
I knew you were going to do that.
So runners at first and second. And it brings in Carpenter.
Keith Hernandez, the best at that plate that I've ever seen.
You're telling me you think he's the best defensive first baseman?
Best defensive first baseman in the history of the game, in my opinion.
It's quite a statement.
I don't know how you can be any better. Pujols was good, but Pujols a right-handed thrower.
Right.
The thing about Keith, he had a strong throwing arm. He had an outfielder's arm at first base. He'd be the first cutoff guy on balls hit down the right field line at Shea Stadium.
Keith, an MVP with the Cardinals in 1979, co-MVP. 0-1, just missed. I'm sure these fans and those that follow the Cubs regular basis have to be in shock. It's not like Arrieta pitched poorly, but he's just been so dominant. You're not used to seeing this.
That's right.
You saw the Kubota power stats and the 1-1. This would be quite a statement series for the Cardinals if they can pull off a sweep.
I was thinking the same thing. Huge win today.
You know, 3 games if you win this one that really could jumpstart something in the right direction. We've been saying that a lot. Last road trip we said that. They won 5 of 6. Two balls, 2 strikes. Mentioned it earlier, the 1988 team of the Cardinals, the last to come into Wrigley and pull off a sweep. Long time ago. Pulled foul into the Cardinals dugout.
The only thing that could mess this game up from a Cardinal standpoint, rain. This game is not official yet.
That's driven into right center field. That ball will get down. Molina hesitated. Now being waved in. Caesar slipped in center field. Here comes Wong, and he'll score. Carpenter drives in 2. Wong nearly left Molina.
Molina scored standing up, and Wong was right behind him, sliding.
Second time in this game that Caesar has slipped. For those of you that just joined us, rain in the area earlier today, and watch him slip there.
Once he slipped, Chris Maloney, that's all he needed to send Wong.
And with that, it's a 5-0 Cardinals lead.
Put a caption on that, a Cardinal go round from that high third camera position.
That'll be it for Grimm. Carpenter picks up the double. He came in 3rd in the National League. That's now number 22 on the year, and a 5-0 St. Louis lead. Look at our Budweiser What's on Tap. 3 with Seattle coming up. And then we'll finish the road trip in Kansas City. Then Kansas City will be in St. Louis right after that. Here's Aledmys Diaz. 5-0 St. Louis. At the top of the 6th with a runner at second base, Matt Carpenter. New pitcher, Carl Edwards Jr. as Almora takes over in center field.
Yeah, so instead of making the double switch early in the inning, Joe Madden elected to make it when he brought in another pitcher.
Edwards made his major league debut for the Cubs last season. No record in 5 relief appearances. And Diaz greets him with a drive into deep left center. Welcome to the game. 2-run shot off of Edwards. And Diaz has his 9th home run this year.
Well, a lot of good things happen for the Cardinals so far through the first 5 innings. 4 2/3. 3 hits by Diaz. Just a brilliant game by Brandon Moss. 2 walks, a double, a run scored on a contact play with the infield in. Carpenter, 2 RBI double. A key walk by Matt Adams to load the bases. Great base running by Diaz to score on that ball that trickled past Rizzo. A lot of good things happening here.
Adams with a little flare out to shallow left, and this ball drops. And Matt Adams on base for the 2nd time to go along with a walk. Take you back to the home run for Aledmys Diaz. 2 runs scored here today. 9th home run, and he's driven in 35.
Is he an all-star? Gotta be, doesn't he?
He's in the conversation.
I mean, he's certainly in the conversation.
He cooled off a little bit. I would have said 2-3 weeks ago,
something?
yes.
I mean, if he shows up in San Diego on July 12th, talk about a proud man from Cuba. Fun to think about.
And the bright spot has been Michael Wacha today.
Excuse me, Dan. Yeah, you're right. Losing 1-0 in his last outing to Cole Hamels. Only run scored against him, a home run by Odor, the 2nd baseman of Texas.
Ground ball into short, and that's thrown into shallow center. Adams stays put at the bag at 2nd.
Why? Why? You got 1 out. Now's the time to take a chance. You have a 7-run lead. Try to close the door. I know Matt's not a fast runner, but that's the time to take a chance. Don't have to be a fast runner to be a good base runner. I mean, the ball's really in front of him. He picks it up right away. There'd be no play on him at 3rd base.
Sloppy game for the Chicago Cubs here today. 7-0 the lead as Peralta looks at a pitch inside. Eileen Wendler celebrating birthday number 100 today.
Get out of here.
She watches every game. I know she's wearing her Cardinals jersey.
Oh, that's great.
So happy 100th birthday to Eileen Wendler.
Centenarian.
Fouled back. Peralta had a pair of doubles off of Jake Arrieta, also flied out to right. One ball, 1 strike on the Cardinal 3rd baseman. And he drives it into right, backing up Hayward. Sinking liner, and he makes the catch. This inning started with Brandon Moss against Justin Graham, and a ball that got by Anthony Rizzo for a double. So the Cardinals bat around here in the 6th inning. Pitch taken low. Even when the Cubs have had losses this year, Tim, they have been, for the most part, close games.
And cleanly played, yeah.
You know, rarely do they get blown out. Right now, down by 7.
Well, you could make a case that the reason the Cubs are playing so sloppily today is because of the first 2 games that Joe Madden has seen. In the Cardinals, those were hard-fought games. Cardinals winning both of them by the identical scores of 4-3.
Pulled foul. Brandon Moss, pair of doubles, and also a pair of walks, excuse me, and also the double, but he scored a run in the 6th inning.
You know what I mean, Dan? I mean, you win 2 games like that for the Cardinals, you're energized hitting the field today.
Sure.
You lose 2 games like that, regardless of your previous record, you're not anything but energized.
2-2. You come into this series, and let's say the Cubs sweep it. Then St. Louis really is buried. Now this gives you life. You know,
it's a 6-game swing.
No question. Not to say the Cardinals will catch the Cubs. You never know, but just a momentum boost, confidence boost.
Absolutely.
As Mox strikes out. Big inning for the Cardinals. Highlighted with this home run off the bat of Aledmys Diaz. A 2-run shot. 9th of the year. All St. Louis so far in Game 3. Independence Day at the ballpark. Take home a unique hat. Monday, July 4th, 30,000 fans ages 16 and older receive a replica Cardinals pillbox baseball cap, courtesy of Brown & Crouppen. And get your 4th of July tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. Curveball and a strike to Almora, part of the double switch in the top of the 6th. Michael Wacha, even with all this offense, not to be overlooked, with 5 strikeouts, 1 hit allowed. Matched up with Jake Arrieta. And a ground ball that's foul. Starting to get a little bit cooler here at the ballpark. Wind is picking up.
It's raining, actually. Yeah, it's raining right now. Lightly, but raining.
And the 0-2 is driven out to left center, and there's Colton Wong. Here's Chris Conlon, who is grounded out to short and also walked. We're talking about some of the great moments between the Cubs and the Cardinals earlier. Rogers Hornsby, MVP in St. Louis, and a manager for both. Dizzy Dean, obviously great as a Cardinal and finished up in Chicago.
And you brought that up before the game, and I'd forgotten about Dizzy Dean. Jerome playing his last year here in Chicago.
Right.
And it was a disaster. What was that, 36?
Yep. The great Ryan Sandberg game between these two.
Yeah.
Overshadowed in that game, Willie McGee had 6 RBI and was named by Bob Costas and the NBC group for the game of the week as the player of the game.
Bob doing the game with Tony Kubek, and Ryan Sandberg with 2 home runs, one to tie it off Bruce Sutter, the other to win it off Bruce Sutter. Where Whitey Herzog made the comment, he's the greatest player I've ever seen.
Sandberg told me it's the game that put him in the Hall of Fame. He said, you know, when you think about it, this is when he was managing with the Phillies. I interviewed him, and he said, you know, people just didn't know what I was all about because games weren't on television. We weren't very good for the better part of my career. Now, he did play on WGN, so fans did get a chance to see him at times, but nationally, he said that put me on the map. What a game it was.
And the Cubs went on to win, winning the first 2 games against San Diego, as we said earlier, here at Wrigley Field, and losing the last 3 in San Diego. Jimmy Fry, the manager.
9-pitch inning for Michael Wacha. Sends us to the 7th, and the Cardinals on top by 7.
Hold on! Get ready for a close encounter!
What goes up must come down.
In the 7th, and it's 7-0 Cardinals. Molina is hitless today. A couple of strikeouts. Scored a run. Chris Bryant is taken over at first base. Wong on deck, and then Michael Wacha. I believe Addison Russell is taken over at short, and Baez has shifted from short to third. There's Russell. And Rizzo out of the game. 1 ball and 1 strike on Yadier Molina.
It's a good time to remove a guy like Rizzo because the Cubs, like the Cardinals traveling to Seattle. The Cubs go to Miami and play a very tough Miami Marlin team.
Chicago begins an 11-game road trip.
Yeah. You think about it, I think Miami has the best athletic infield in the National League, with Pittsburgh having the best athletic or the most athletic outfield.
Especially when D. Gordon is in there.
Yeah.
Serving a 50-game suspension right now.
Yeah, right.
And Danny Echeverria is as good as they come defensively at short. We see him play day in, day out at spring training. He is good. Count of 2-2, and now time is called. Cardinals Gateway Honda home run inning. Making a home run, the Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Speaking of the Marlins, having a career year is again Ichiro. I say career year, he's had about 10 of them.
Long career.
Pete Rose says he's still the hit king no matter what. Pete Rose, the most hits in baseball, Major League Baseball here in the United States. And if you add up the hits in Japan and the United States, recently Ichiro passed him. Pete Rose and the hit of 4,191, if memory serves correct, which tied him with Ty Cobb for the most hits in baseball history, and that happened here at Wrigley Field. Then set the record at home.
Against Eric Schau.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, Pete would make a comment like that, I'm still the hit king, but he is he's saying that through clenched, respectful teeth about Ichiro.
I would hope.
Yeah, oh, you know that. It's one thing about Pete. Pete loves it when people emulate him, and nobody in baseball emulates Pete Rose any better than Ichiro.
You played with him a long time, Pete Rose.
Played with him a year, played against him forever, it seems like. From 1963 through 1978.
What was it like being around him every day? You know, what was his preparation?
Good question. Fanatical.
It's another hard hit ball off the bat of Wong to Bryant. Great deals from the Cardinals Museum through the month of June. Purchase a Cardinals Museum family membership. Get the full set of exclusive Hall of Fame bobbleheads. And purchase that great book, Redbird Relics, put together by Brian Finch and Bill DeWitt Jr. And the third, use the code BOOK16. Fanatical, huh?
1979, I saw him do something I'd never seen anybody do. He went 0 for 4, 1 for 4, something like that. Something that was rare. Usually it was 2 for 3, 2 for 4, 3 for 4, 4 for 4. And he came in after the game using the same bat for all 4 at bats. And he had marks on the bat. He had very few marks around the trademark because most of his marks were on the sweet part of the bat because he was such a good hitter. Great hand-eye coordination. He took alcohol and a piece of cloth rubbed off all of the marks on his bat. And I said, why are you doing that? He said, so I know where I hit the ball the previous night. Wow. I said, you know what? I have never heard of that, but that makes so much sense. Not that you're going to change things tomorrow night, meaning the next day, but just to make you conscious. Well, the next night he went 3 for 4 or something like that. And when he had a good game, he didn't take the alcohol to the bat. Only when he took an 0 for or 1 for 4 or something like that. I thought, this guy's insane. Nuts. And I mean that in the nicest way, because you can say what you want about Pete, but he was the most dedicated baseball player of his era.
Great picture of Stan the Man in '63 when he retired. And both
he was the Rookie of the Year that year.
Lined up the first and third base lines.
Cincinnati off to Stan getting his last hit off Jim Maloney on a low fastball.
But in that picture, Pete Rose with his crew cut as a young Pete Rose, and there's Stan the Man. I mean, there's just so much symbolism with that picture.
Oh my gosh, I'll say. Except for the gamble.
That's right. Strikeout of Wacha. Time to stretch here at Wrigley Field. Cardinals lead at 7-0. Michael Wacha is still going strong in this game. Well, Brandon Moss has done an awful lot in this game at the plate, and also big play in this game, scoreless at the time, sliding catch, and it turned into a double play. The AT&T high-speed replay of the afternoon. Thinking ahead that the Marlins will be in St. Louis, not too far away. 18 games away on the schedule. Miami will be in St. Louis. Ichiro is at 2,982 hits. And he very well could be very close to 3,000 when he gets to St. Louis. Now that's a reason to go buy a ticket.
Think of that. Yeah, I'll say.
We'll see baseball history.
Well, just to see him play, see his dedication. As we said the other night, you never see him hurt.
Right.
I mean, if Major League Baseball players, if I'm a player today and Ichiro's in the league, I got to go to him and talk to him about training. You're Matt Adams. Last year, you missed almost half the season, a little more than half the season. Things like that with quad injuries. Matt Holliday. I go to Ichiro and find out a secret. Not that I can be like him, but I can try.
Adams makes the catch there in foul territory off the bat of Bryant. You know, he travels his own trailer in spring training. It's his own workout.
You told me
facility.
that. Yeah, you told me that.
It's situated just beyond the Cardinals complex, right near the clubhouse of the Marlins. And it's amazing. I mean, you watch him when he plays in spring training. He's got more spring in his step than anybody on the field.
Unbelievable. World of respect for that man.
No question. I remember back when McGuire got 500, that happened in St. Louis. And it was a series against the Padres. Picked up home run number 500 off of Andy Ashby. And also Tony Gwynn was going for hit number 3,000. And he was really disappointed. I talked to Gwynn. And God rest his soul. I mean, one of the great baseball players and people.
And guys.
Yes. But he said he was very disappointed that if he wasn't going to be able to do it in San Diego, he wanted to do it in a great baseball town like St. Louis, and because of his relationship with Stan the Man. Those two over the years became very close.
Yes.
He didn't get it, and hit number 3,000 for Tony Gwynn happened in Montreal. So right after St. Louis.
Out of the country.
Yep. Here's Addison Russell at the plate. That swung on and missed, and Michael Wacha just keeps on trucking along. 2-2. Out to left. Crossover. Won't get to this one. To the wall. And it's a double for Addison Russell in his first plate appearance of the afternoon.
The one thing that the Cardinals, that was a changeup Russell hit it hard. Cardinals have kept the ball in the ballpark here in these 3 games. No home runs for a team that had 5 home runs before the Cardinals came to town. 5 on Sunday against the Pirates. And a good pitching staff.
Brings in Zobrist. 0 for 2 today. A pair of groundouts to second. Michael Wacha's allowed just 2 hits. Seth Main is throwing in the Cardinals' pen. Main is dealing with arm issues that landed him on the DL. Now back in the big leagues. The 1-1. Pulled foul.
A few exceptions today have the Cubs been able to really center the ball against Wacha. Soft outs, ground balls, lazy ground balls, pop-ups. Good sign for the Cardinals and Michael Wacha.
Road trip for the Cubs, Miami. First of 4 tomorrow night. Then they have 3 with Cincinnati. Then they go to New York for 4.
It's that tough pitching staff for the Mets.
As a matter of fact, the Cubs only have 3 home games prior to the All-Star break. After that trip, they'll come home for 3 against Cincinnati and then back out on the road against Pittsburgh before the All-Star game. And a fly ball lifted out to deep left. Backing up Moss to make the catch. And Russell back to the bag at second. 2 down.
That again, a lazy fly ball. The strikeouts are not the only indication to the effectiveness of a guy like Michael Wacha, but it's
how the opposition is making contact. Off balance. Striding too far. There's a changeup to Zobrist and a lazy fly to left field.
Pitch count at 98, and this will be the final inning of work for Michael Wacha. More times than not, Cardinals do not stretch him out in games. They're very cautious because of the shoulder, the unique injury that he deals with.
Sure.
And up by 7, no need to push him.
No.
Contreras lines it foul. Oh, 2. Pitch number 102 is a fastball at 96, so still good velocity. These last 3 starts, the 3 best of Wacha's season thus far. Make a case for that. Certainly Friday night he was good, and today he's been great.
Funny about baseball, huh? You mentioned earlier that last night we had heard that from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 at night there was going to be rain. Ferocious rain covering a wide area. You know, as a player, you're out there, you're facing one of the best pitchers in the game in Arrieta. You're trying to tiptoe through the early innings, and now all of a sudden you got a 7-run lead and you're just elated.
Right. One of those things too where the Cardinals have gotten to Jake Arrieta. They have hit him well, not just today but in his previous start against the Cardinals, as he has dominated the rest of the league. Two balls, 2 strikes with 2 outs and a runner at second base. And the Cardinals against the right-hander. Last 2, and that's combined with the relievers that have come in, but the Cardinals have put up 15 runs in the last 2 starts Arrieta has thrown against St. Louis. So Contreras is at the plate after the injury to Montero. Out to center. Wong is back, looks up, and it's gone. The second home run for Contreras. First pitch he ever saw on Sunday night. They're in the big leagues.
That ball in the basket in left center field, right over the 368 sign, and the second home run for Contreras. Good job by Michael Wacha. However, it's now a 5-run ball game, so Cardinals bullpen called upon to keep things steady.
First pitch by Manis is fouled by Baez. So Seth Manis back in the big leagues, 13 appearances, some ugly numbers, but trying to get things straightened out. What has been a very reliable reliever for the Cardinals over the years. Hyundai pitch arsenal for Seth Manis. No balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, you can obliterate that first half of the season by finishing strong over the next 3.5 months.
Two is popped up. Diaz over along with Peralta, and it's Aledmys Diaz. Chance for Walker to pick up a win as Manis gets the out, the final out in the 7th. The pen, Spencer Patton. Braves had won 6 in a row prior to the loss today. Urbana, Illinois native Spencer Patton. He was acquired by the Cubs in the offseason from Texas. Called up back on the 21st of this month. And we're in the top of the 8th of a 7-2 Cardinals lead. Carpenter with a double, 2 runs scored, pair of RBIs. And the first pitch is strike, and we're underway here in inning number 8.
Hey, the one good thing about Matt Carpenter, boy, if he says it's a ball, it's usually a ball.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, that little peek back there not going to show an umpire up.
I'm not sure there's a guy in the league, either league, that has a better understanding of the strike zone than Matt Carpenter.
That's the key phrase, understanding of the strike zone. And along with that, some eagle eyes.
I haven't had the chance to talk to you about this, but the proposed idea of raising the strike zone next year. It'll be about the needs of the letters. Strikeout of Carpenter, and he's not happy one bit.
You could kind of see that coming, huh, Dan? Yeah, Mike Matheny appropriately getting Matt out of there. I mean, Mike was sprinting.
Keep him in this game.
Yeah, you bet.
Aledmys Diaz in our Nissan drive of the game. A home run back in the 6th. This a 2-run homer, part of a 5-run 6th inning in our Nissan drive of the game. So you would raise the strike zone ever so slightly for next year.
why they want to do that.
My understanding is you're talking about more offense in the game.
Why would raising the strike zone bring about more offense? I don't understand that.
From what I've been told is that with pitches up, you're going to have more offense with hittable balls, is how it was explained to me. The 2-0.
You know, I don't know if I don't, but just have to think about that.
All right. Mull it over for the next couple of weeks until I see you again.
Might be a
When
month.
do I see you again?
In a month.
When's that going to be? Where?
New York.
New York.
New York,
okay.
New York, baby. See all those fans that yell at us from the stands.
Last year was beautiful. Wasn't it?
You have never forgotten to remind me of that night when that guy was on me like, McCabe, you bum. And he didn't say bum. He was
some choice language.
A little more coarse than that.
Yeah, we still love you, Timmy. Great to have you
Yelling
back.
at me like a sailor would. As Bob Uecker again would say, these fans, I love them.
One pitch to Adams. Now 0-2. Diaz, by the way, has been on base 4 times today.
Just a heroic story of Diaz's journey to the major leagues. Opportunistic and prepared for that opportunity.
I think that, as you mentioned, you know, the story of defecting from Cuba and all the things that he had to go through, many of those he does not want to get into to protect others.
Missing his wife, who remained in Cuba.
And eventually his family was able to get a visa to come to the United States. As Adams hits it the other way, and the catcher's man. But it was about this time last year, Aledmys Diaz was put off the 40-man roster. Anybody could have had him
for $20,000, right?
His contract, though, when he signed, was 4 years, $8 million. So the Cardinals took a chance, thinking, well, you know, with the remaining money on the deal, probably doesn't go anywhere, but still.
Because it had a bad year and he had a bad shoulder,
right,
too, at the time.
And still, you're taking a chance.
Sure.
And here he is now.
Nobody, how can nobody see any promise for a pittance in baseball parlance?
Taken low by Piscotty.
I think one team like San Diego, for instance, needs offense. Anybody. A shortstop that can hit?
Yep.
Come on.
And I think we've seen getting better and better and better defensively.
Smart. Unafraid.
Now, there are going to be some bumps in the road.
Of course. Of course. Be some 0 for 4s, 0 for 5s, and even a stretch where he goes 0 for 18 or 20.
The 2-0 pitch to Piscotty. But he quickly made the adjustment defensively, talking about just being bright and adjusting to the game.
He's always, Dan, going to be a hitter that plays shortstop.
Good point. But coming in on a ball, being more aggressive, not being afraid after making a bunch of errors. A lot of
react
players.
to a ball, and otherwise you're going to be too stiff. React to it. We like your reactions. That's what the Cardinals were telling him. Don't lay back on the ball. If you think you should charge, go ahead and charge. He's gotten much better at that.
Well, you think about it. You make a lot of errors early. You're trying to make an impression. You're playing shortstop. You commit those errors. Easily, a young player is intimidated.
Yeah. Being too cautious. Perhaps. He's not cautious anymore, I'll tell you that.
Nope. Midway through 8, 7-2. Baseball brought to you by Bud Light Live and by your local Volkswagen dealer. Spencer Patton at the plate. The pitcher, he went to high school at South Central High School in Kinmundy, Illinois. And that's about halfway between Effingham and Mount Vernon. And he also pitched collegiately at SIU Edwardsville. So good to see a local product doing well here in the big leagues as he grounds out for the first out.
Well, the first thing you think is, why is the pitcher hitting in a 5-run ball game in the 8th inning? I mean, you've got David Ross left. He's your third catcher, but you can't worry about that if you're 5 runs down with 6 outs to go.
Just short bench.
Yeah. It is still odd.
Tyler Lyons getting loose in the Cardinals pen. This is Almora. And the 0-1.
You don't know, and may be premature, but this is the Seth Maness that we're used to seeing.
This could be, before it's all said and done, a real key part of the Cardinals bullpen.
Good point. Yes.
You know, right now, Mike Matheny uses Broxton and Segrist to get to Rosenthal. You don't see a lot of Bowman. You don't see a lot of Lyons. Just another weapon to feel comfortable with.
Well, he gives you innings. He gives you a ground ball double play. He gives you many things if you want to work him 3 innings.
Right.
He's got a good changeup. As a matter of fact, a surprising changeup. He'll do that to right-handed batters, get them back off the plate. Very valuable man when he is healthy and right.
It's almost a swing by Almora. Ooh, and that catches the home plate umpire. Ouch. Just certain areas that just are not protected for a catcher or an umpire.
Well, it's protected by the leather that holds the plastic together, and I think it was the top of the knee. It was where that hinge is, and that's where the leather brings the plastic together. But if it's hit just right, that little leather strip in there, I mean, it is
painful.
Hurts. And that ball comes down, particularly from a sinker baller, hitting the top half of the ball, it comes down like an anvil.
Sure. 3-2 pitch. Doesn't get the call. Along with Tim McCarver, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes is with us. We're at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Cloudy, 77 degrees. Game summary, 7-2 Cardinals with one out here in the bottom of the 8th and a runner at first. Michael Wacha, chance at a win. Really pitched well. 3 hits allowed in 6 2/3. Arrieta, the story for the Cubs, as he lasted 5. Tyler Lyons coming in for the pen. Archevy called to the pen. First in the bottom of the 8th. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the content descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cardinals. Here's Chris Coghlan. First pitch fouled back. You know, we were talking about it last night. You'd love to see at times if Mike Matheny, if he needed to get that one out from a lefty, is there the trust there for Tyler Lyons? Mostly Tyler has been coming into big leads in games one way or another. He's got that pitch right there that's a great equalizer against lefties.
That's a curveball. Coghlan frozen with that pitch just above the knees.
It's a good one.
Yes, it is.
Jonathan Broxton throwing in the pen. There's a double play ball. Out at second, on to first, double play. Good work by Tyler Lyons. That'll send us to the 9th and a 7-2 St. Louis lead. Top of the ninth, couple of doubles today for Johnny Peralta. The Cardinals starters have now worked 6 or more in 12 straight games, and if they can hold on today, it's win number 3 for Wacha. Fastball by Pat underway in inning number 9.
Think about it. Michael Wacha has lost, and he's not on the win side yet, but he has lost 7 straight decisions. It's been a long drought for Michael.
Were you doing the Mets when Anthony Young was going through that stretch?
Oh my gosh, 1 in 15, I believe, something like that.
Man.
On that slider, you talk about a slider. I'll tell you, that slider that year from Anthony Young awoke me to the possibility of just how dangerous that pitch is.
I bet.
It really did. I think he ended up 1 in 15. I'm not sure, but it was close.
Brandon Moss after the strikeout this series. And what a series, Tim, this has been. It started in game 1 with a home run. Last night, game-saving play off the bat of Hayward. Today, the sliding catch turns into a double play. And then what he's done at the plate.
And great base running.
Anthony Young lost 27 consecutive decisions.
Yeah, that over a 2.5-year period.
Yeah,
like
May
that.
6th of 1992 to July 24th of 93. Longest streak in Major League history.
And such a good guy. I mean, you just felt for him.
He had a stretch of 27 consecutive starts without a win. 13 of those were quality starts. That was with both the Mets and the Cubs. But I think your point is valid. I mean, not to say Michael Wacha is going out there and worrying about, uh-oh, if I don't get a win, it's up to 7, then 8, and 9. But human nature not to think about it a little bit, I would imagine.
You better believe it. That's your business partner. How you make your living.
And Moss, a swing and a miss. Young, for the longest time, was a coach by all accounts, and talking to some of the scouts of the Cardinals, they said he's a very good one. Highly respected, very good guy.
Great guy. You don't want to see anybody go through what Anthony went through over a 2-year period.
We always say it, baseball can be cruel. This looks like today Molina could use that off day tomorrow.
And he'll get it. But of course, it's not really an off day because you're flying tonight, which wears you out a little more tomorrow, and a little jet lag coming in for a couple of days in Seattle.
Yachty hits it out to deep center field, but that'll stay in the ballpark, and that sends us to the bottom of the ninth. Cardinals with the lead. Again, another strong performance from a starter today. That's Michael Wacha. So in this series, Jaime Garcia, Adam Wainwright 6 2/3, and Wacha 6 2/3.
Stay. If I'm Johnny Peralta right now, the Cubs trailing by 5, I'm looking for the bunt. I'm going to take the bunt away from Jason Hayward and play him about even between second and third, being the baseline. Because we saw Hayward last year try to bunt for a base hit several times.
1 ball, 1 strike. The Cardinals started play 1 game out in the wild card, if you're wondering. Start taking a harder look at that near the All-Star break, certainly afterwards. Dodgers had a half-game lead over the Mets, and the Cardinals 1 game out. Miami 1 game out in Colorado, and Pittsburgh 4.5 back. Off the end of the bat, and Moss again makes a fine catch on the run in left center. What a series this guy has had.
He really has. I mean, he capped off by the game today. Great base running, couple of walks, knocks, scoring from third. That turns out to be a very big play.
Huge.
I mean, it's a 2-0 game at the time. He scores the 3rd run with the infield in. Now this is Brandon Moss, not a speed burner. He scores.
Chevy call. Takes us to Jonathan Broxton with a 7-2 lead here in the bottom of the 9th. The batter is Chris Bryant. Jonathan was a closer, very stops along the way. One of those in Los Angeles, where Kenley Jansen just became the all-time saves leader for Los Angeles, surpassing Eric Gagne.
I did not know that. Good going.
Here's the 0-2.
Eric Gagne lasted a long time with the Dodgers too. From Montreal.
You got it. One of your stops along your major league trek.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a trade that shook the baseball world after the 1972 season.
Ground ball hit to third in Peralta. And the other part of that deal.
Jorge Roque for me. or hated, not necessarily have a
Still resonates today.
to the stars. Major league player.
Our Budweiser player of the game, Aledmys Diaz, 3 for 4, 2-run homer, and a couple of runs scored. Also had a walk. So 2 outs, and Addison Russell. This just in. A trade that'll shake the baseball world. Out to center with room, Colton Wong, and he's got it, and the Cardinals have a sweep in Chicago. The final of 7-2.
I'm sure Mike Matheny is thinking how sweep it was, and it was.
First 3-game sweep of the Cubs at Wrigley Field since May of 1988. On to the post-game show. 7-2 our final.